Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to this week's Weekly Energy Boost. My name is Elisheva, and I'm here this morning with David.
Hello.
And we are geared up to share with you the secrets behind going through life gracefully, with excitement, with passion, really rolling with the punches and going with the flow, rather than staying stuck and attached. And as David said, I think it's been a year since you mentioned it.
You remember that?
You want to be a river, not a swamp. And so it's time again to bring up the river swamp metaphor so that we can go with the flow. I'm not sure that last year when we were talking about it, we could have ever predicted the swamp that we're in right now. But even in the swamp, there are good things growing. So we're here to talk about that. The Weekly Energy Boost is your 7-day spiritual energy forecast. David and I, and sometimes guests, present the most powerful, most practical wisdom that we glean from the texts like the Zohar and other Kabbalistic work, so that you can not only navigate the next week with the best odds at achieving the maximum results that you're looking for, but also we weave in there some life lessons. We take your questions and comments from the chat on Facebook, and obviously we've been getting lots of emails over the last few weeks.
We have. I haven't seen them. Interesting
that you haven't seen them. But yes, we've been getting lots of emails, and we want to weave in some of those questions as well. But really today, I think the focus, according to this week's energy, is identifying where our small agendas. Is that me? It's not me.
I think it's you.
It's not me.
It's not me.
Where our agendas are holding us back.
Yeah.
And the thing about these agendas is that they're very subtle, and they seem often to be healthy or justifiable, or, you know, they've been around so long, or they're so much a part of our essence that it's hard to identify them and to identify our ability to not need them or to let them go.
It's a very common thing when we talk to people who feel like, you know, they have good intentions, they are trying their best, they're putting their best foot forward. Something's holding them back, something is stuck, some form of manifestation is stuck, and our job is to help identify the internal virus that something that's impeding their growth. There's always something that each one of us has that's holding us back. And we've had shows about negative belief systems, believing what I deserve. That's a whole show all by itself. Today we're going to talk about those agendas and ways to help manifest, because Kabbalah is to help people learn how this world works, how your soul works in this world, so that you can achieve the results you want as fast as possible with no chaos. That's the goal. We're not here to be overly spiritual or self-righteous, or to tell people you got to be good people. That doesn't fit in the lexicon of Kabbalah. It's all about how do you manifest happiness without the roundabout chaos that most people go through. So the tool we're going to give today, the method, the consciousness we're going to give today is all about achieving our goals and finding out those hidden, unknown agendas that are impeding those goals.
I think the first concept to throw out there so that people are with us and, you know, resonate is that we're not here to say, don't have an agenda, renounce all desires and interests, put on a sackcloth and walk the world barefoot preaching, you know, like David said, be a good person. The opposite, it's that honing in on and refining that agenda is actually what maximizes our potential for growth, for results, for manifestation. Many times that agenda is so limited and limiting, and I don't want to overuse the word limiting too much, but it's like the agenda is so small compared to our potential that it's like having that funnel. You know, the mouth of the funnel is so huge, there's so much potential there, but by the time it gets down to manifesting, it's like trickling and dripping because we're choking that potential.
Correct. If you have questions, comments, something you want to share, I already see there's some conversations going on in our chat. Please do so. We're looking at them live. We can answer them for you. And always remember, the more engagement you create for us, sharing the posts supports us, broaden our audience as it's growing every week, thanks to you. So, I got this EMF thing on my we changed our whole house to become EMF proof. Do you believe in that?
What's EMF for our listeners?
Electromagnetic
frequency.
I think that's what it stands for. I think I slept better last night.
I'm happy for you. You could also just leave your phone downstairs and not have a TV in your room and not have any electronics in your bedroom.
So much more to it than that. So much more to it than that.
David's not promoting
I'm not promoting anything.
A product or anything.
I probably should.
He's just sharing.
I probably could monetize it with our audience, but I'm just saying I got it. So in case you feel a vibration from me that's more powerful than what you're used to, it's this thing I got on my wrist.
Thanks for sharing. So,
if you believe in EMF, put it in the comments.
Okay. Where are we going with this? Next week's show is going to be about EMF. I don't know.
Well, we talk about the spiritual EMF. We talk about the vibration from the soul, but
okay,
because that's the connection.
All righty. So I want to start with, I think, the most damaging agenda.
Okay.
And I think that everybody can relate to this on some level. It's more of I've got to identify where in my life does this rear its ugly head for me, if it's in my relationships, if it's in my ability to make money, if it's in my self-image, even my connection with the Creator.
Yeah.
It's low self-worth. And I think that low self-worth, believe it or not, is an agenda. And I'll give you an example.
Explain that.
Yeah. Let's say, for example, in business, in work, that you don't have to be a business owner. You can be an employee in whatever company. You can be a freelancer, consultant. It doesn't matter. When things don't go according to your plan or according, they're not successful. And I want to have a whole 5 minutes about success. The voice inside says, you see, I knew I wouldn't be able to do it. I knew they wouldn't listen to me. I knew, whenever I put myself out there and I take that risk, inevitably there's failure, or I'm not accepted, I'm not loved, I'm not welcome. It happens when people, we talked about this last week, when people pray for something and they don't get what they pray for, or the results don't manifest. They think, well, God doesn't like me. God doesn't listen to me. Prayer doesn't work.
So you're saying people go through some form of failure, rejection, they're traumatized by it, and it develops within them an agenda? Explain that.
Well, the desire is, it's a latent desire. It's not right. They're trying to prove their worth.
Yeah.
They're trying to show that they are valuable. They're trying to express their goodness. And in the back of their mind, this voice is telling them, you can't. It never works. You're not the right person. You don't have the skills. You don't have the information. And therefore, that agenda prevents them from fully.
When you say agenda, let's define that word, because when I hear it the way you say it, it kind of makes me think of something else. Agenda is that which I secretly want. That is what is my secret intention. Is that how you're defining it?
Yes, it's like it's a.
So what is my secret intention when I have low self-worth? That I secretly want something not to work out?
Right.
Because if it does work out, that's me having to step up. That's me.
There's many possibilities.
Deal with things that I'm not used to.
I think that's the variable. The commonality is low self-worth.
Okay, so what you're saying, I'm going to repeat it. What you're saying is, a person says to you verbally, Elisheva, I want to be married. I want to be successful. I want my business to grow. I want to have a certain amount of clients. That's what they're saying to you. But you're saying some kind of low self-worth or probably negative belief system about who they are is deep down inside saying in a much quieter voice, I don't really want to be successful. I don't really want to be married.
Or this person really doesn't love me. Right? It's like that tiny voice inside tampers with the perception of what's really going on. That's what I'm getting at.
And what happens when externally they're saying one thing, internally they're feeling another thing?
Well, that's what David calls dissonance.
Cognitive dissonance.
And it creates chaos. The result is
you become stuck. That's what stuck is. Stuck is usually there's two forces pulling on each other. That's why you're not moving in a certain direction. It's also science. So when
science proves David's correct.
That's right. Science proving spirituality once again. So if you feel stuck in any part of your life, even though you think there's only one force moving you forward, most likely there's a hidden force that's pulling on the other end, causing no motion to occur.
And by the way, that agenda can also be to stay comfortable, or
That's a big thing. People want to be comfortable,
but they don't realize it, right? They say, "Well, I'm working so hard. I'm working 18-hour days." That it looks like they're uncomfortable, right? According to the society's perceptions, well, working a 18-hour day, that's really uncomfortable,
right?
But that's within their comfort zone,
right?
And then they're frustrated why they're not moving forward.
We talk about this on the show a lot, that the Kabbalah says, the wisdom of Kabbalah says that to move forward, it's not just about exerting energy and effort. In fact, some of the most successful people don't exert that much energy, but it's done in a smart way. And we say spiritually, you got to deal with your fears first. You got to deal with those things that you don't want to deal with, especially if it's going to help you have more unity, more happiness, remove that grudge, remove that jealousy, address it, identify it, admit it, just be real with yourself that you have it, that you have some form of an addiction. It's already the first step of unlocking the light of our soul that's going to move us forward. A person can be spending so much time and energy trying to manifest something, when in reality, all they really need to do is break through that one little fear. They will overcompensate by overworking on all the things that are easy for them to do. That's also a way that people avoid guilt. They say, well, I'm working really hard, so I don't have to work on the one thing I need to work on. And this is how people avoid the guilt, because nobody wants to deal with guilt. Do you want to add more to that?
Well, no, I think that was pretty succinct. I'm looking at all of the notes that I wrote, and I think that for most of us, and this is really the gift of this week, is this week we'll be able to identify that agenda. That's why we want to bring it to everybody's.
That's the cosmic
the
energy
forefront of everybody's consciousness. This is a very important topic. We could be talking about it in December, but the gift of this week is that you will be able to see more clearly, if you're willing and if you're open to identifying that hidden agenda. Now, part of the work of this week and of identifying it is silencing the external, right? Looking at the things that I believe, or how I've learned to chase my carrot, whether it's been things from my upbringing, my family, the way my parents spoke to me, maybe the way I was, my school career, how did that go? Or when my heart was broken first, looking at all of the external stories and really tuning out or I would say distilling, making sure that we're silencing enough of that chatter so that we can hone in on what is that hidden agenda that's preventing us from really getting to our next level.
So I have a point here. One of the things that can be holding us back is every time we have a goal or a dream or a desire and we start to work towards that goal, and there's an element of hurting someone else, diminishing someone else, or some form of maybe humiliation, something is tied to that goal, it will be a force that pulls the goal the other way. And as a result, you'll be stuck. So we're not talking about right or wrong. We're not talking about politics. We're not talking about what you feel. None of those things matter. We're talking about how do you move forward. So a good example, you shared this with me in the car. You said, let's say I want to, what did you say?
I was talking about the competitive siblings.
Oh, yeah. You say part of, let's say you want to be successful, but maybe there's 2% of you that wants to be successful, maybe to outshine a sibling who was the favorite of the dad.
Right.
To make the sibling look bad. And you see, Dad, I actually was the better one. Right. Now, that could just be 2% hidden. Nobody knows about it. You'd never even say it publicly.
You only fume when the sibling is shining or bragging or enjoying their success.
And maybe you say you've already moved on, but there's a part of you that finds it to be an added benefit. I think that's also how some people justify it. They say, look, I'm going to work to be a great person, a successful, happy, sharing, build a family, et cetera, et cetera. And you know, an added benefit is going to be that I'll outshine my brother. And finally, my dad will see that if anything, we're equals. And by the way, maybe that's the agenda. I want to be an equal siblings, which is the way it's supposed to be and all that. And that's a problem because part of your goal is to bring down or humiliate, or even if you call it leveling the playing field, that is against the laws of the light of the Creator. So it will just hold you back. It will, even if you achieve your goal, there will be an emotional toll. There'll be a chaotic toll. There'll be a lack of blessings, even if you achieve that goal which you wanted to, which is you became successful and you showed your dad and you lowered your brother, but still you'll feel like, wait, I don't feel good. I feel empty, and you won't have the blessing.
It won't be the fulfillment you thought it would be.
Correct.
And by the way, it doesn't have to be a sibling thing. You may be out there competing with other people in your field, other companies in the same businesses you're in. Whenever that competition or that fear, that what do they call it? I'm not going to remember. Scarcity, that fear of scarcity comes up. It's important for us to remember that no one can take anything away from me, right? If it's mine, it's mine, and we can have 80 shows about it. I don't think that's something that you can hear again enough.
Right.
That reassurance that, you know, there's only one you and everything that you need is there for you and no one can take it away from you. Part of what I think trips people up when it comes to releasing those agendas is the perception of success. And I think that the sibling thing or that recognition, you know, the brother gets to where he wants to be, but even though he's successful, he doesn't feel the success or enjoy the success. And I was thinking a lot about, you know, why people are attached to that perception of what if I fail? What if I don't succeed? What do you think? Why do you think people are so attached to if they don't want to take the risk because they don't want to fail, or they're afraid they won't succeed or it won't work out? What is that attachment to pass fail?
Everyone has PTSD, some form of trauma that the unknown is scarier than the unknown pain. So an unknown pain will always seem much scarier than a known pain. So people will stay in addictions because that's a known pain. It's painful to be addicted to something, to someone or something. It's painful. We all know that. But that's a pain I know versus letting that go. And then there's loneliness, or who knows what's going to happen. That's a pain I don't know. People will always choose the pain they know over the pain they don't know. But the problem with that is your next level is always pain you don't know. So in essence, people are always going to stay stuck. Your next level, how do you know your next level is coming when you're confronted with a pain that you don't know, you don't understand, is confusing, you can't wrap your head around it, you can't control it. That's how you know it's your next level. That's why it's called your next level. Otherwise, it would be called this level.
I think also many people chase a thing instead of their next level, right? They chase a better looking girlfriend or boyfriend. They chase the promotion. They chase the bigger home or the nicer car, or even going back to the sibling thing, right? They're looking to outdo their sibling, even more, or take it to the next level, rather than thinking, where is the growth? Let me put my, when you watch those crime shows and they have the pictures and the strings connecting the newspaper article to, I don't know what they call it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Do that to your life and strategize what's the next move. Not what's the next thing, what's the next object, what's the next measurement of my achievement, but what does my next level look like? I think that that's the one way to get away from the hidden agendas and the blocking from the previous experiences or scarring or whatever you want to call it, and really look for how does what does Elisheva 2.4 look like?
Innately, we love movement because the world is moving, the planets are moving, everything's moving, the electrons, the atoms, they're all moving. So innately, we feel like we need to move forward. We feel the need to do that. and you mentioned this, what you're saying is just two types of movement. There's you deciding to go to your next level, which is going through the unknown and the uncomfortable. And then there's you trying to move to a comfortable place, actually, because you feel like you don't like where you're at. So you might change your relationship, you might change a job because you just feel uncomfortable. And we have to understand the distinct difference between the two, because I know a lot of, and this is not a political show, we don't take a stance, but we always like to talk about the times because it's representing an energy. And there are people who are like, well, I'm moving. You know, a lot of people are moving now. But why are we moving? Because there's a pain, there's a lack, there's a fear, there's an unknown factor. And there's a chance that I could be reacting to that. And we've learned you never make big life decisions when you're afraid, because you're planting a seed that's going to be bad in the end. Even if your logic tells you it's smart, even if society tells you it's smart, and stats tell you it's smart, you never make a big life decision from fear, pain, or lack. And we all have these agendas that we're talking about. We shouldn't be afraid to choose the unknown, to choose to be uncomfortable with pain. We're just so afraid of it. We want to get rid of it so quick.
I think what you're saying brings up a really important point that's definitely tied into this week's energy, which is the weight or the importance of perception, right? That if I perceive something as bad, it'll be bad.
It must be bad. Yeah.
And if I perceive something as good, it'll be good. Now, what do I mean by that? Person gets fired. Or you shared, I'm going to bring it up again. You shared a great story about how a student of yours broke up with they were broken up with, heartbroken.
Yeah.
And you shared with them some interesting information about the energy of that time period and
the astrology of it, yeah.
Astrology forecast or whatever. And that completely helped her shift her perception about what's going on. Mm-hmm. And just to make the long story short, the cliche of one door closes, another door opens, basically was the idea. And Kabbalah very much reinforces that idea.
Yep.
Every time a door closes, it's because another three are probably opening. And if you can just say, good riddance to the door that's closing, it'll help open the other doors faster. But that's really one of the great secrets behind spiritual power is if you see something as bad, even if it's good for you, you will experience it as bad. And vice versa. Even if something is painful and difficult and uncomfortable and taking you outside of your comfort zone, your knowledge zone, your safety zone, it'll be the best thing for you. And that's really what I see as shifting agendas it really is all about perception, right? I don't need to, in order to be happy, I don't need to outdo my brother. I don't need to outdo the competition. I don't need to have a sexier car or partner or anything else. In order for me to be happy, I need to change my perception. And I often ask students, how do you know you're right? Right? They'll share with me some story, something terrible is happening. How do you know you're right? How do you know it's terrible?
Do they answer?
They're quiet for quite some time, as I'm sure, if you, I would even.
I love that. I'm going to use that.
But it's true, because what ends up happening, and this is, again, using a modern metaphor for a very spiritual and ancient teaching, is that at any time you look at what's going on and you label it as bad,
yep.
What you're doing is you're taking a still frame in a 3-hour movie and judging it,
right.
Attaching to it meaning that it's almost like, I feel like we've said this before, but like you pick a sour fruit and you taste it and you say, well, this oranges are terrible.
All oranges are terrible.
All oranges are terrible. There will never be a good orange.
Right.
But you picked it before even the peel was separate from the fruit.
Right.
And so, of course, you're having a terrible experience because it's the middle, as the plot thickens in the movie and there's someone gets beaten at a bar brawl, that you're judging that moment versus waiting till the end of the movie when everything does work itself out. So one of the things that in recognizing how our perception clouds things is recognizing the dangers of labeling things good and bad.
All right. So in summary, we've talked about a couple things. I shared how it's very important that whatever initiative, whatever goal, whatever passion, either in your own life or for the world, I think we all get caught up in doing things for the world or movements. You have to make sure that whatever you do, it's coming from a consciousness of abundance and not to achieve my goal, I need to destroy your goal. To achieve my goal, I need to disassemble your goal. And the reason why is because the creator cannot bless such an initiative. The light of the creator does not exist there because the light is abundant. And we always think, for me to have, you can't have. Or for me to
There's only so much pie.
There's only so much. There's only so... And we also are conditioned to think that the only way you're going to learn is through suffering. So you need to suffer because you haven't learned yet. And the reason why that's dangerous is even if you achieve a temporary objective, we are here to say we're looking 10 steps ahead of that. Kabbalah's always looking at the whole picture, at the future. We're not interested in trying to just feel good for the moment. We've seen that backfires. We all know it. We're listening to the show now because we've been there. We're mature adults and we realize, wait a minute, me just trying to get whatever I want from fear or lack, it always ends up hurting me later. It's called Tzimtzum. In Kabbalah, it's called Tzimtzum, where the light enters the vessel, but because of the way the world is structured, light that enters a reactive vessel must exit the vessel. That's why anytime you draw energy to fulfill a pain or a void reactively, it can be through substance abuse, emotional energy, complaining, hurting another individual. It feels good. The energy enters your vessel. Tzimtzum takes over. Basically, that light is rejected from your vessel. And that's why we always feel emptier, more cloudy, more hateful later on, even if we temporarily felt good. Kabbalah's helping us avoid the temporary life. We're looking for the long-term picture. And that's why during this crazy time and everyone's deciding things and pushing for things, part of the dialogue I've been trying to share with students is hold steady. It's like that remember that scene in Braveheart? Did you ever watch Braveheart?
I don't think so.
Did you guys see Braveheart? You know what scene I'm talking about? Where it's like, somebody put that scene up here. It's hold, right? Is that what he says? They're not reacting to the fact that their enemies are charging at them. They're not reacting. And it's such a powerful scene because it's such an unreactive scene. Everyone's scared, afraid, and they're holding steady and waiting for that right moment. There's always a right moment. And when that right moment comes, you'll know it's coming because whatever you're thinking about doing doesn't involve taking something away from someone else.
Okay.
You got to put that scene up there. I'm sure someone's going to put it in our comments. Okay. It's a famous scene.
Well, we have a couple really good questions.
Please bring them up.
One is, how do you tell the difference between when your intuition is telling you to take a leap, trust the process, if there's fear and doubt that it's still bad to make a huge decision? Is that still bad to make a huge?
I didn't understand.
Okay, I think I understand.
Please.
Your intuition is telling you take a leap, trust the process, but you still have fear and doubt.
Your intuition is telling, your intuition, okay. Well, that's what we said. We said any bridge that is, what bridge do you need to cross? The bridge that is laden with fear and doubt. So you need to cross that bridge. People, whenever there's fear and doubt, it means there's something there for you. And that's what we're trying to say. Fear and doubt, look into it. Don't write it off. Don't hate it immediately. Don't try to destroy it also, because you might be destroying the bridge, right? The bridge is fear and doubt. Cross the bridge, don't destroy the bridge, because then you'll never get to the other side.
Okay, you ready for the other question?
Yeah.
How do you grow out of being complacent?
How do you grow out of being complacent?
Things are good. We talk to people who have this condition all the time. Why rock the boat?
Things are good.
Things are good.
It's funny because when people tell me things are good, I say, well, that's great. Let's talk about something else. So usually when they're asking me what things are good, what do you want from me? I say, well, I don't want anything from you. If things are good, that's great. I prefer to talk to the people who either already have a desire, whether things are good or not, because I think that's where we need to focus our energy. If someone's asking me now and saying, look, my life is good, but I actually do want to be ahead of it, well, we can have that conversation. And that conversation is, take a look at business owners. I know a lot of business owners who are doing well today, but just because they're doing well today, they've learned to train themselves to have the same initiative they had the first year they started versus the fifth year. First year they started, they had no money, they had no business, so they were on fire. They were really working hard. In the fifth year, guess what? The smart business owners have the same fire. So I don't know how they do it. Well, I imagine a couple ways they do it, but one way is they wake up in the morning and they pretend they have no business. And they say, if I had no business, what would I do today? And that's what we need to do in relationships. We need to do that in everything. We have to pretend like we don't have a relationship and say, what would I do today to earn this person? What would I do today to grow this business? Assuming that your competition is right on your coattails and they want to take your company away from you. How are you going to work? How are you going to live? So that's how I overcome passive energy.
Well, our teacher, Rav Berg, used to say, I'm trying to think of the beginning part of it. If you have a business, most people who have a business, when business slows, they're going to start to print the coupons and make the offers and flyer on the street. A really good business person does that even when business is great. And I've done an exercise with my students. I know I recommended it last week to somebody, to sit down either with a partner or to sit down with lots of paper for at least an hour, asking the question. If you do it with your partner, it's a 2-hour exercise, okay?
Okay.
What do you want? Make a list. What do you want? Okay, you answer the question, and then you ask the person again, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? What else? If you're doing it with a partner, you can't answer.
I like that. That's good.
And really dig down deep to see what else do you want. No, and there's nothing is off limits. So it can be physical, spiritual, emotional, energetic. It doesn't, again, nothing is off limits. And get down to, because I believe whoever's asking, and if someone is asking it, other people are thinking it, right? You could, whatever you have now that you're so fulfilled by, it's nothing compared to what you can have. And that the growth or the perception of complacency, if you've already diagnosed yourself with complacency, you're ahead of the game. Most people who are complacent don't even realize it. They might even say how hard they're working just to conceal the fact that they're complacent. So at least use that when things are good. That is the best time to start to work.
I was speaking to 5 guys last night who are business owners, and they were telling me about a 6th guy. And they're telling me about his company. He's a young guy in his early 30s, and he's got a company doing hundreds of millions of dollars. And I said, I never heard of him. He said, exactly. That's why he's so successful. And I said, what do you mean? He said he just sits and he works, and he doesn't talk about he's working. He doesn't try to tell you he's working. He doesn't play any other game besides hard work, and that's why you've never heard of him. And I really just got me thinking, and obviously there's 2 ways to do that, right? You network, you talk, whatever, but then there are those people that have made a decision where they realize to manifest something, you got to really cut out all the noise. You got to cut out all the BS, and you got to cut out the show that you're trying to put on, and he's so laser focused. And he said that this person is very specific about very diligent about not putting himself out there too much, because you get caught up in the chaos and the drama and the opinions. I think this person doesn't even watch the news. He's just so focused. I found that to be inspiring.
Well, for most people that are listening, I believe, we have many people obviously who listen to the show that are studying Kabbalah, other people who, maybe in the past perhaps studied Kabbalah. Other people have no idea what Kabbalah is and are just enjoying the nuggets. One of the things that Kabbalah teaches, and we spoke about this last week also in different ways, is that each one of us has that unique relationship with the Creator, right? The uniqueness of that spark of light within us it's funny. we're universally unique, meaning everyone in the universe is unique. There are no two sparks alike. And in developing that relationship with the Creator, right? We spoke earlier in the show about being able to see more clearly what our agenda is this week. That agenda is separate from that spark. And it's important to distinguish that. That inner voice that we're talking about amplifying in almost every show, that is the unique spark of light within each one of us. And it's not the same as our agenda. Our agenda is what's drowning out that voice, what's blocking out that voice, or what's poking a hole in the power that that voice has. It takes a lot of courage to commit to listening to that voice. I'm piggybacking on.
What are some more examples of that voice? Because I talked about whenever you do something that is great, but also you're diminishing something else or trying to hurt somebody else, bring down somebody else, etc. You talked about low self-esteem, which is you have an agenda which you don't really want to succeed because it's scary to succeed. And people can also write in the comments, what are some other agendas that you've seen hold you back, or you've seen people you know, where, because it's easier to see other people. It's easier to see other people's.
I think another, and guys, feel free to chime in. I think right alongside the low self-worth one is the fear of losing relevance, fear of being useless.
A good one. That's a good one.
Right? If I don't X, Y, and Z,
that's right.
They won't need me anymore. They won't love me anymore. And I mean, as I'm saying it, it may sound like it's more of a professional issue, but I know that there are people in their families that they continue to help someone in their family because they don't want to lose the relevance. They make sure that they make that phone call, or they send that birthday gift, or it's like there's things that we do.
This is a good one. This is a good one.
I feel even kind of slimy talking about it. That's what kind of it's such
I think we all do it.
Slimy agenda. But there's things that we do because we don't want the other person to forget us, or forget how much they love us, or how important we are, or we want to make sure that we're in for the bonus or the promotion or the, I don't know. It can show up in basically every relationship, even in a friendship.
This is why it's so powerful, because we all, I think it's because we're all busy. We're all busy, so sometimes we do the minimum. You know, the minimum payment you pay on the credit card.
No,
you don't you don't wipe out the debt. This is the minimum payment due. Just pay it, and you just roll the debt over the next month.
So you can keep using the credit card.
Exactly. Keep using it, but you still have the debt, so you don't have to pay it off. So a lot of people have these kind of relationships where they do the minimum payment.
To their friend. Or
to the friend, to the dad, to the mom, to the wife, to the husband, to the kids. Here's the minimum.
Punching in and punching out.
Here's the minimum, so you know that I'm there. You can't blame me.
So I'm going to still stay on your Christmas gift list.
Exactly. And the problem with that, and it's a product of us being busy. I think we're all busy and we try to overdo it. And then instead of being committed to a couple of things, we're all over the place with a lot of things. And the problem with that is it's not true sharing. And people feel that it's not sharing. People feel everything. You can't just like drop an energy bomb here and there and then think like people are going to feel how you're amazing.
And this agenda, it's often hidden in, I just want to be a good person. I just want to do the right thing. I just want to pay it forward. I want to give back.
Yeah.
Many, if we're really honest with ourselves, and I can think of personal examples as well. Many, if we're honest with ourselves, the reason we continue doing the right thing or doing the nice thing is because we are either afraid to lose that relevance, that attachment to being invited to that party once a year, or being invited to the Hampton. You know, like there's so many. Can you tell what TV show I watched last night? There's so many different attachments we have, and again, I feel slimy. It's like, has this? Do you really want someone giving to you with that agenda?
What could be a good solution? I've kind of learned, and this might sound bad as I'm saying it, I've kind of learned like I'm putting a cap on new friends, putting a cap on new relationships.
We're not hiring for David's friendship circle anymore.
People are like, "Can we be friends?" I said, "Look, I have a cap of friends right now."
We're waiting for someone to drop out so that you can join.
and I know it sounds horrible, but the truth of the matter is,
it really does sound horrible.
It sounds horrible, but I want you to understand the logic behind it. The logic behind capping yourself is so that you can be committed to the people in front of you, because we all try to be everything to everyone, and so we're nothing to no one. Does that sound right? We're nothing.
I got you.
Okay, you understood what I'm trying to say.
As a recovering Pisces, I understand.
Yes, exactly. It is a Pisces tikkun. It's a Pisces correction. So I think that it's okay if you're not liked by everyone, as long as you can have deep, meaningful relationships with even a handful of people. Our teacher used to tell us, you're probably only going to have one great friend.
And if you have that one great friend,
you're lucky. You're lucky. So I think that that's another way of looking at stuff. Look at your life, and if you feel like you don't have a real deep, meaningful connection with people, and you're just paying the minimum payment on the friendship credit card, that's not the light. You're not going to have blessings that way, and eventually people will not be there for you.
We have just a few minutes left. I'm wondering if we can leave our listeners with some tips on how to hone in on those hidden agendas.
Well, this week's energy is going to help us, as we said. I think when you listen to this show, you start to have a desire to want to know what it is. And that is always the first thing you must have. I have a desire to know that which is hidden, and it will start to be revealed to you. As you do actions of sharing this week, they will emerge. So you want to take inventory of it. One way is, before you go to bed at night, try to think of as many actions of sharing that you did, and then ask yourself, what are some hidden, non-abundant agendas that I had around that? And if you ask yourself the question slowly, they'll start to emerge.
Yeah, I think simply bringing the question, why did I do that? You know?
What was the reason I did that?
I made sure that so-and-so got a text from me. Why did I do that?
Right.
I texted my friend group, my chat, whatever, friend chat, I'm doing this and this and that. Does anybody need, why did I do that?
Right.
And slowly, even if it's limited, and remember that, let's say you're doing a antivirus sweep on your computer, you want to find out if there's a virus, right? You don't want to find out when it's too late. You want to catch the virus before it's eaten into all your files. This is what we're really talking about. Don't be afraid to find the virus. Don't be afraid to find the agenda, because once that agenda is transformed, there's so much more space for you to receive. But also, the more elevated your mindset is, the more elevated my mindset is, the more blessings not only I'm going to experience, but it's going to benefit everybody around me. I know that sometimes people say, well, is it wanting more light selfish? There's an agenda. There's a hidden agenda. I want more light. Doesn't that sound selfish?
Asked and answered. We've mentioned that so many times. You want more. That's the only agenda that's good. It's okay to have. Because
when I am more plugged in, when I am more radiant, when I have more light in my life, the whole world benefits.
That's right.
And that enlightened greed, right? We had a whole show about it. You can search it up in the library. Enlightened greed is, I want it all, and I'm willing to do it all to achieve it.
We have some great guests coming up in the next couple of weeks, and let us know if there are certain guests that you would like to have. I think we're trying to bring Eitan back. Let us know if you enjoyed having Eitan on.
We had a lot of comments on
Eitan. I think we had double the viewership. I think we're looking to have Monica Berg come on. I've asked her for 2 years to come on. I think our schedules just didn't work, but I think we're going to try to bring them on. We can now bring people on. We can patch people in from all around the world, right? We can do that. So Monica, I think Marcus, we're going to bring Marcus back.
Yes.
I think that's going to be a great show. So let us know if there's topics, things you want to know, guests you want us to have. We're down for doing that. I did want to plug for all of our new viewers, if you want to learn more about the wisdom and power of Kabbalah, which is a system that is going to help you understand everything about life. I will be so bold to say everything. You'll start to understand everything bit by bit, not all at once, but things that you've had a lack of clarity about your whole life, they will become clear. And if you've been studying Kabbalah for a while and you haven't done Kabbalah 1 online with us, the masterclass is by far the best production and content, deep content that we've brought forth ever in the Kabbalah One sphere. So that's Kabbalah1.com, and we have a code for our followers to get 30% off. I think it's called Web 30.
Web 30.
Web 30. It's Kabbalah.
Web is for weekly energy boost, by the way. It's not for the
I
internet.
didn't know that.
Yes, weekly energy boost.
I
30.
didn't know that.
It's for our listeners and our listeners alone.
Okay, I like that. So yeah, Web 30, Kabbalah1, ONE.com. And Kabbalah 2. There's Kabbalah 2 on there with all of our teachers. It's me, it's Eitan. No, there's more than me, Eitan, Marcus. You're right. There's probably only 3 or 4.
But we will be back next week to share with you more secrets and wisdom and prescriptions on how to best navigate through not only the coming 7 days, but 365 days a year. We are on iTunes, Spotify, anywhere that you get your podcasts, you can find us there. And the great thing about that is if you subscribe, we come to you rather than you having to look for us. Mm-hmm. I've seen the ratings. People are rating and reviewing us. It's really awesome to see. And to get that feedback and to see how many people are out there listening. We are in the top 10 spirituality podcasts in like 20 countries.
Oh, that's really cool.
It is really cool. And maybe we'll bring some of those stats to an upcoming show as well. So keep sharing. Tag people in the comments that you want to hear the show. The show is also on Instagram, IGTV. We're on YouTube. If you need subtitles, you can get subtitles through watching on YouTube. We are everywhere. And we will see you next week on the Weekly Energy Boost.